due to some of the things in our pregnancy process, we're unable to make love at the moment from a naturopath's guidance. And so the frustration was coming up because there was like a bit of a disconnect, not a lot of time for intimacy. Plus we're getting busy. I'm doing my fun project on coaching and mentoring business owners, and then it's like making sure that there's time allocated for connection. And so through this conversation we realized that frustration was building, and because of the unspoken desires, and by creating a space for them to be spoken and then to connect.
It's also like the timing, noticing that for me that pops up at a different timing than yours. And so by inquiring about what's the frequency of connection, when do you feel the pattern around me to fill up the intimacy cup coming up, and we just had two different timings.
Yeah, because just explain that a little bit. So like for you it's 7 days, for me it's about 4.
It was just about gaining awareness around the fact that for me, I don't feel disconnect. So sometimes Chris goes, there's disconnect, but I just don't feel it. And for me, that happens, but maybe in different timings. And we just realized that for me, I can be without sex for a week. And then after that amount of time, I started to feel the need to arise for that to happen. And for Chris, that happens more frequently. Happens every 3 days or so.
Yeah.
So by not knowing that and not speaking that, Chris was just having frustrations.
Yeah.
And then they were coming out because obviously it's not just frustration, it's also then it brings up old stuff and all these kind of things, and then there's difficulty in expressing it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come out as an invitation, it comes out more as an attack. Like, oh, maybe we can do a massage, but then there's no following through, there's no actually doing it. And I was feeling a bit like, I kind of understand that behind these little hints there was the need for Chris to connect intimately, but at the same time I was like, well, he's not doing anything about it. I almost felt like he was just like throwing the ball in my camp and then waiting for me to do something. But for me, I was not feeling the way he was feeling in that moment. So my need to connect intimately wasn't arising yet. And so that creates discord, and that can create, especially if, in our case, we've been working on a lot of sexual deconditioning really for many years.
Yeah.
And so when these things happen, it's easy for the old buttons to get pushed.
Yeah.
And then there's frustration, and then it starts snowballing, and there's the process of attaching meaning to things and retrieving the old patterns. So we were doing something else, and then that came up. We actually started to flash it out and go, okay, that's just really what it is. There's a bit of work that we're doing in the communication of these desires. But there's also something around timing. So we just need to synchronize our timing. And then that also allows for desire to express differently.
But also the timing's just currently it's an exploration to see how that impacts, because what we see at the base
makes sense though. I think it's gonna do a good.
It makes sense. It's only just happened though that we're testing our timing differences and how that impacts our emotional connection.
Yeah.
Because why it's like one of the fundamentals to this process was we're becoming aware through we're doing the work on the slow sex book, which is, what's her name?
No, it's It's Diana
Richardson.
Husband.
Yeah.
That wrote a book called Tantric Sex for Men.
Tantric Sex for Men. So there's a process which is cool lovemaking.
Yeah.
And so when we went through a process of this when we were doing the 6 months on the road in the van. And what we sort of, as we journeyed, actually we were journeying with the songline to the earth as well, which we found out the indigenous cultures actually, just segue, the Seven Sisters songline. And there's this Orion, is it?
It's the creation story.
The creation story.
Around it. I think it is Orion constellation.
And so there's a masculine figure who's like greedily sexually driven to get pursue these seven sisters. So we did this journey around Australia, and at my masculine energy, sexual energy is like, and it's been always challenging to manage the desires that come through, as if they're in control more than, let's say, I'm in control. And so like that can create triggers and frustration between us, because there's this desire that would come up every now and then where we'd have to have conversations about like me wanting open relating and Rosanna, and how does that look? And it's like, but we've agreed on a monogamy type relationship. And so that's because of these like strong sexual desires. But what happened on this journey around Australia, there was this awareness built around doing...
Also the interplay, the interconnection between the relational style, that the communication of desire, the connection, and the intimate connection, but also the emotional connection.
Yeah, so that's
why. All kind of playing out.
Yeah, so what we realised through this journey was that we might need to just pause for a second. We go. So what we realised through this, or what? We were it was a joint understanding that arose, but also, so what I noticed was that on this journey around Australia, as we practice this cool lovemaking, and we connected it like deeply. It's like it allowed us to connect emotionally at a deep level, and intimately, and spiritually. And as that connection deepened, it seemed to heal layers of safety, trust, like,
and all the conditioning around the fact that sex in society mostly is represented by acts that are very fiery and hot and fast and hard. And then we go into sex thinking that that's all about, that's how we connect. But then we're actually not necessarily connecting through that act. Our animalistic instincts are playing. But that doesn't mean there's connection at all levels.
And that
the fact of slowing it right down to the point that some of those practices imply zero movement. It's just basically a coming together and then doing nothing and see what arises.
Soft entry, like even not being erect as a man and actually entering.
Which is, there's a whole thing about a penis has to be hard and strong and long and big.
And hard and fast.
And instead,
this is like a rewiring.
It's about absolutely. It's about having a flaccid penis entering the vagina and just resting there. And the amount of emotions and stuff from the past, feelings and everything that then starts to, it's almost as if the genitals start to really communicate and awaken at a different level. And that creates a sexual connection with an emotional connection, with a deeper spiritual connection. Because you really start to get to places where that are a bit unlikely to be reached through the traditional way of having sex.
Yeah.
Traditional, I mean, it's not traditional, but
Yeah.
like the most.
Yeah, and like society's traditional way is ejaculation is the goal, and this is like more like actually the aliveness of the connection is the goal. So it's like it's a journey rather than focus rather than the destination.
And then it just opens up this whole world of waves and cycles, and the sensation start to vary.
Yeah.
And then you start to play with a little bit of movement, and that creates different sensations.
Yeah.
But you try to keep it not to reach a peak.
Yeah, because that's
And
where
then
ejaculate. Once it gets hot and into the peak, that's the orgasm energy.
And it creates that kind of slow heating up, and to the point where then even if you reach the boil, and at least from my experience as a woman, it's like that the temperature, the arousal gets hotter, and then it just serves the waves, and it takes longer to actually cool down again.
Yeah.
Which means, because in normal sex it's like, oh, you're starting friction, and then orgasm, and then it's finished.
Yeah.
Instead, with this slowness, the whole body is present. The whole everything is co-creating.
Yeah.
And then it starts really to move into wave of prolonged pleasure.
Yeah.
That doesn't get to a peak where there's a release.
Yeah.
But it feels very nourishing and nurturing, and it's just,
and loving.
it fills up.
Yeah.
Rather than depleting.
Yeah.
And it lasts longer.
Yeah.
And it's highly pleasurable.
Yeah. And without the release, there can be like connection for days. So just like that carries through. I'd say
carries through. Yeah. That definitely.
I'd say like we're not experts. This is still an exploration, but I guess the key lesson that we got through this journey, as we were practicing it on the road, was around noticing how there's this like softening of so as that emotion, that connection is fulfilled sexually, which has emotional connection, spiritual connection, and physical connection. Actually, the looking around, so the relationship was more connected, more heart connected, and rather than like looking around and being more like leaky sexual energy, like more external.
It's looking at other women
Instead of looking at other women.
Desiring other partners.
Yeah.
And all that kind of.
That sort of dropped off and changed. Like, so it's like, instead of being in control, I mean, having these like strong sexual desires, sort of feeling like influencing my day-to-day experience, it sort of dropped away because it felt like there was this level of connection between us.
Yeah.
So that was super powerful.
Also, at some point, we think we're looking. Sometimes we may think we're looking for sex, but what we're really looking is emotional connection, feeling received.
Yeah.
Feeling that we're uniting with someone.
Yeah.
Feeling like there's a merging. There's a losing ourselves into something greater. Yeah. And we think that we want sex. Although sex, even the hard and fast model, can be pleasurable.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
It doesn't necessarily
and it
come
can be
with
play
that level of
yeah.
connection.
It can be play and creativity, like adult play. Like
totally.
It's definitely fun to explore.
But sometimes it doesn't satisfy the need.
Yeah.
That it's a little bit hidden under.
Yeah. Well, often that's coming from a place, for me personally, of often like if there is an emotional disconnect, my sexual desire starts to like ramp up, and then finding it needs to be released in this, like, because it's built up in my system, I sort of sense that it needs like an ejaculation or a strong energy release, like the hot, hard, fast, and more, that starts to like, that's just moving the energy more.
That comes up and starts to arise and encounters the parts that had difficulty in the past to express the desire, or the parts that have been wronged because of certain sexual fantasies, or the parts that when we're little we're being hammered because of whatever, like all the stuff around sexuality starts to meet this energy, and then it comes out completely covered by this language, and it comes out as dissatisfaction of the relationship, or being like super snappy at each other, or wanting the other person to read your mind and to give you what you need. But it's just really then the work becomes stripping it away and being super honest and creating those spaces where we can talk, and also observing the patterns, because as we started to navigate this more closely, we noticed that there's patterns. There's a regularity through these cycles. There's a wave. And so by observing the wave, then the latest insights was, we're running on different clocks. So let's start to synchronize those clocks and see what happens. And for me, actually, it's beautiful because at that now we have decided that every 3 days we create space for intimate connection. And it's interesting for me because I'm like, what could I put? I don't feel the need. If I don't feel the need for sex, what could I want? And it opened up a whole array of other ways that I actually feel pleasure through. And like yesterday, I ended up wanting a bath and being gently touched and having words of affirmation. And that created very pleasurable bodily sensation with emotional connection and I was like, wow, this is really cool. It doesn't have to be sex. And
that's the whole point is like, actually often sex, the desire for it is coming from a missing level of like emotional connection,
and it definitely filled my cup. And at that stage I did not even realize that my cup was actually not fully so that was also,
and I think that's the gift of like teaming up on it together, which is, the relationship or the relational space is I bring by raising these things, and I'm learning to clearly communicate desires, understanding, being able to like speak what I want in the face of potential rejection or whatever that might be, to build not feeling wrong for those desires, because they can be taboo or different or whatever it might be. Not accepted. And then for Rosanna, what's your growth point?
So this also came when you started to explore that, because it was kind of in the air. And as we started to explore that, it felt a little bit crunchy. Like we were going into a little bit of conflict. And there was a bit of snappy energy and defensive energy, and we were just kind of going there. And then I actually shared with Chris that I was having difficulty in wanting to say what I wanted to say because I was afraid of his reaction. And he was like, he paused and then he said, okay, well that makes sense. I can feel how I'm feeling, and try me. I'm like, okay, I could try you, because a lot of that, then a lot of the non-safety in being able to communicate also translates in not feeling open sexually. So once he said,
for you,
try me, once you said try me, I'm like, okay, I could do the try me, but can we stop if that doesn't feel good anymore and come back to it at another time? And he said, oh yeah, of course we can do that. And then what we did, that also was a great way of teaming up, was we used the real process.
Yeah.
I wrote on a note a process that allows to kind of stay a bit out of the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
And just being quite objective with that could be a process that we could share.
Yeah, that's good though.
Being objective and kind of, but also being able to share meaning making and emotions and
how it has you feel
impact
and what
something
you need. Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I pull out the notes. And so I started to go through the notes, and it came out all clumsy, and it wasn't perfect, but it got us to relax into, we're not fighting, we're actually trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
And then I expressed my piece, he expressed his piece, and then we actually had an insight, which was around some difficulties in expressing desires and feelings. Anyway, a whole bunch of stuff, and then that became clear. And then after that, boom, the energy started to shift, and then after that there was the insight around the different timings, because at that stage we were no longer charged and we were really working on the thing. And then we just realized that we needed to synchronize our clocks, and so we did, and then we had a beautiful evening. And
of connection.
yeah,
So the process with that was to, someone doesn't want
that's
that.
where we started to talk about the wheel of consent. Because there was also blurry lines around, but what if I ask something and then you do it just because I want it, and then you don't enjoy it? Like, well, it's not about enjoying the thing, it's about enjoying the fact that I am serving you. So just by using the wheel of consent, which talks about these different polarities that can be in the light, so create pleasurable experience, or can go in the shadow and create little traumas or reawaken stuff.
And if it's suppressed energy, it's still there. It's just being shut down, and so it's creating frustration in the background or like disconnect. So by allowing that to be communicated, it sort of frees up the energy.
Exactly.
I think if you guys want these, like a bit of an explanation on wheel of consent or even the Terry Real process, just put a message in the comments and we can do another video on that, because
that could be fun.
That'd be interesting. So just share with us if you want to hear it. They're good tools. They're two really powerful ones we've found have been good for us.
And also, the process, the Terry Real process is in Terry Real's book called Us.
Us, that's an epic book.
Amazing book. Really highly recommend it. And the Wheel of Consent, there's a whole website online, a lot of free resources, and I think it's Betty Martin. Just Wheel of Consent. You will find it. It's a really good tool to literally just clear the charge out and create a practice that allows to improve the communication of whatever sexuality.
And we've implemented these into our relationship, and I felt that the
process is not just for sexuality, it's just
that's for everything. For triggers more and like relational dynamics. We'll put the details in the link below. Anything we share, we're using. Like we've tried it.
These two tools actually helped us to clear the air and then just move on and understand what we actually need.
I'll also put the link to the book by Diana Richardson's husband, because that was amazing. And there's some triggery bits in it for me as a man, because it does talk a lot about how the patriarchy and the domination of the impact on women, and also it talks about the cool lovemaking rather than hot. And we've been being a man, like being brought up from a young age, it's all about hot, porn's all about hot, heavy. It can be quite triggering, but if you persevere and look at it as just another avenue to explore deeper connection, and that it's not one or the other, I think it can be really powerful.
Because that's what it is all about. Like, hot sex on one side, cool sex on the other.
Yeah.
But then exploring both polarity and deconditioning from just the
it's
habit.
the deconditioning that's so powerful.
It just allows to really flow with your sexual energy.
Yeah.
Without having to hide emotional needs or connection needs. And even the book that you finished reading, the Continuum book, was talking about that.
Yeah, it was talking about that's an amazing book.
Even goes to the connection between mother and child.
Yeah, from a birth, like from birth, the skin to skin. If a child hasn't received that, then there's an impact later on the secure attachment, but also on like the release of sexual energy being like the need for emotional discharge because the child doesn't know how to self-regulate. So like most of us have been in this day and age in Western society have been brought up with some kind of disconnection in youth. We'll turn around. And that actually explains and is really interesting around how why that's happened. So that's the continuum concept.
Really, really good
one. And for new parents too, because that's what it's about, parenting. So we've been reading this stuff now. So if you're enjoying the video, thumbs up. You don't, thumbs down. Subscribe if you want to hear more from us, and we're just going to keep sharing our journey through the highs and lows and challenges of relationship. So I reckon from the start of our relationship doing this work, it's been such growth from massive triggers and blow-ups, codependency, and the challenges to now conscious conception, baby on the way, gorgeous, and to being really connected. And there's still times of trigger, but having the tools to work through it. So we're on the learning journey. That's what it's all about.
Developed a good foundation.
Exactly.